Myself, Satish Gowda, Assistant Professor and HOD, Department of Zoology, Government First Grade College of Arts, Science and Commerce, Sira. Today in this video session, I am going to speak a topic on races of silkworms and brief account of mulberry cultivation. The topic belongs to Tumkuru University, 3rd BSc, 6th semester Zoology, that is paper 7, Applied Zoology. Races of silkworms. So there are different types of silkworms. So these different races are classified on the basis of their native regions, the number of hatchings in a year, rearing period, body markings, cocoon colors, egg colors, etc. Based on the place of origin, there are 4 types of races. They are Japanese race, Chinese race, European race and Indian race. Now we will see one by one. Coming to the Japanese race. The silkworms of Japanese race are univoltine or bivoltine. Univoltine means the silkworms produces or gives a single generation in a year or a double generation in a year. Hence they are univoltine and bivoltine respectively. See, the eggs of Japanese race are available in many colors and the eggs are non-hibernating. The larvae are healthy and strong but grow slowly. The body is black in color. Markings on the skin of the larvae are normal. The skin of the larvae markings are normal. The cocoons are dumbbell shape, peanut shape or spindle shape with white or straw color. So this is about Japanese race. And coming to the second one, that is Chinese race. So here the Chinese race silkworms eggs are very light yellow, yellowish in color, and the larvae are white with round body form, and the larvae grow rapidly by feeding actively on mulberry leaves. So when compared to the Japanese race, here Chinese race are the larvae grow rapidly, which are by feeding actively on the mulberry plant leaves. These are trimolters. So Chinese race silkworms are trimolters. So in their life cycle, the 3 moltings occurs. Hence they are called as trimolters. And they cannot identify the differences in the temperature, humidity and air. Cocoons are rounds or oval or spindle and are white, golden, yellow, green, red or even pink in color. The cocoons are totally available in a multicolor. The cocoon filament is long with good reliability. So the cocoon filament is very good and it has a good reliability. This is about Chinese race. Now coming to the third one, that is European race. The silkworms of European race eggs are very big, heavy and dark brown in color. Dark brown in color. The larvae of European race are long, big with a pale normal markings with yellowish in color. The larval period is longer and the larvae grow fast by feeding actively on mulberry leaves like Chinese race. The cocoons are long, oval, white or yellow in color. Shell weight is more, fiber is long and good reliability. Means the filament of the cocoon is long with good reliability as like in Chinese race. This is about European race. Now coming to the fourth one, that is the Indian race. Here the silkworms of Indian race eggs are small and are light weighted. The larvae are very small and long. The silkworm attacking a common disease, that is muscardine disease, is very common in Indian race silkworms. Then the cocoons are spindle shaped with green, yellow or white in color. The cocoon's filament is fine but thin. These are polyvoltine. So Indian race silkworms are polyvoltine, means many moltings occurs during their life cycle or during their generation. This is about the Indian race. So the Japanese race, Chinese race and European race, then Indian race are the four races of silkworms on the basis of their native regions. Now, on the basis of voltinism, the silkworms are broadly classified into three categories. They are univoltine, bivoltine or multivoltine or polyvoltine. So what is meant by voltinism? So voltinism is ability of a silkworm to produce one to several generation in a year. That is known as voltinism. On the basis of this character, the silkworms are categorized into three types, that is univoltine, bivoltine and multivoltine or polyvoltine. So what is univoltine? As I said earlier, the silkworms producing one generation in a year called univoltine. Univoltine lays diapause eggs due to absence of juvenile hormone. They have a long life cycle. They are very sensitive to environmental conditions. So bivoltines are produces two generations in a year. The first generation adult lays non-diaposing eggs. Then the multivoltine produces more than 5 to 6 generation in a year. The larval duration is very short as they have a multivoltine. Cocoons are small in size. The cocoon produce less quality silk than uni and bivoltine races. So this is about three types of races of silkworms on the basis of the voltinism. They are univoltine, bivoltine and multivoltine silkworms. Now, on the basis of moltings, the silkworms are classified into different types: trimolters, tetramolters and pentamolters. What is this moltinism? Moltinism is a process where the larvae cast off, larvae shed down its old skin and develop new skin, and this process is known as moltinism. Each molting period lasts for 15 to 30 hours. It is a hereditary character. This molting is a hereditary character. The molting is a physiological process under the control of the hormone which is responsible for molting, that is ecdysone. So on the basis of molting, the Bombyx mori can be classified into trimolter, tetramolter and pentamolter. This is about races of silkworm. Races of silkworm. Now coming to the brief account of mulberry cultivation. So as you all know that mulberry plants are very good food, provides very good food to the silkworms, and in the silk industries it is a very popular plant, that is mulberry plant, which provides a very nice and healthy and enriched food. Hence this mulberry cultivation is very common in silk industries. So What is mulberry cultivation? So, as the name itself says that the cultivation of mulberry plants, the process of cultivation of mulberry plants are known as mulberry cultivation. So, here mulberry foliage is the only food for the silkworm, Bombyx mori, and is grown under various climatic conditions ranging from temperate to tropical regions. So hence this mulberry cultivation is very common in silk industries or sericulture. The mulberry leaf is a major economic component in sericulture since it has a quality of leaf producers per unit area have a direct bearing on cocoon harvest. And mulberry cultivation, for this mulberry cultivation, climate or environmental condition plays a very important role. So climatic requirements. The ideal range of temperature is from 24 to 28 degrees centigrade for mulberry grows well in places with annual rainfall ranging 600 to 2500 millimeter rainfall ranges. In areas with low rainfall, growth is very limited. Atmospheric humidity in the range of 65 to 80% is ideal for mulberry growth. This is about climatic requirements for mulberry cultivation. Now, the soil condition is also very important, plays a very important role, and it is very important to cultivate the mulberry plants. See, mulberry flourishes well in soil that are flat, deep, fertile, well drained, and loamy to clay, and porous with good moisture holding capacity. This is the very good soil condition, required soil condition for mulberry cultivation. The ideal range of soil pH is 6.2 to 6.8, and the optimum is 6.5 to 6.8 pH. This is the ideal and optimum soil pH for the cultivation of mulberry plants. And here the quantity of gypsum to be used in different cases to bring the pH up to 6.8 or given below. So if the pH ranges increases or is high in the soil, so it can reduces or it can be bring up to the normal or optimum or favorable pH condition, that is 6.8, by using the gypsum per hectare. So here the data which is showing on the screen is used for the hectares. So for example, 2 tons of gypsum is used to pH range for pH range 7.4 to 7.8. So they are using 2 tons of gypsum per hectare. So this is 5 tons per hectare, 9 tons per hectare, and 14 tons per hectare up to the pH range 9.1 and above. If the soil pH is 9.1 and above, they are using 14 tons of gypsum to bring the soil pH up to the 6.8 range. And here the quantity of lime can also be used or applied to bring the soil pH up to the 6.8, whereas it is varies in the soil, and according to the soil pH they are using lime per hectares, like 2.5 tons per hectare in hilly areas. Then the soil type is, if the soil type is sandy, Likewise, so they are using according to the soil types and the area wise. Now, how they apply, that is called as method of application. The powder gypsum or lime is mixed well with the garden of soil or irrigated to the stagnation for 48 to 72 hours. Later, the water is leached. Water is leached out by drainage and dried, suitable for flowing and intercultivation operations should be maintained. So then suitable mulberry varieties. So there are many varieties which are suitable varieties of mulberry cultivation. So there are different kinds of mulberry plants or varieties of mulberries are available. They are Kanwa 2, S13, S34, etc. Kanwa 2 belongs to Morus indica. Morus indica, it is widely cultivated in southern India, yields about 30 to 35 tons per hectare per year under irrigated conditions. So S13 is the another variety of mulberry, that is Morus indica. It also belongs to Morus indica, recommended for rain-fed areas of South India during the 1990s, and it yields 8 to 12 tons per hectare per year under rain-fed conditions. And it is very resistant to leaf spot, powdery mildew, leaf rust, and chakra infestation. So it's very resistant to the diseases. S13 and S34 is another kind of mulberry plant or variety that belongs to Morus indica diploid, which is selection from progeny of S30 crossed with bark 776, recommended during 1990s for rain-fed areas with black cotton soils of South India. The yields about 15 tons per hectare per year, and it is also resistant to powdery mildew and leaf rust. And establishment of mulberry. The land preparation for the establishment. The land preparation is very much required. Land for mulberry cultivation is plowed deep up to a depth of 30 to 35 centimeter deep. We have to plow the soil or a land where we have to mulberry cultivate. Then the land should be properly leveled. After plowing, land should be properly leveled, and a basal dose of well decomposed farmyard manure, FYM, or compost is applied at the rate of 10 tons per hectare. So flow ಮಾಡಿದ್ಮೇಲೆ ನಾವು a land ಅನ್ನು full level ಮಾಡಿದ್ಮೇಲೆ then we have to apply this compost, organic compost, so for about 10 tons per hectare, and thoroughly incorporated into the soil. Again we have to incorporate that compost into the soil, and that is very important. And spacing for mulberry cultivation is very much needed. The spacing commonly followed for a rain-fed garden is 90 into 90 centimeter pits of 35 into 35 centimeter are preferred. And stakes and planting. So this is also very much important. branches of 8 to 10 months old and about 50 millimeter in diameter should be used for the preparation of stakes of 20 to 25 centimeter length with 5 to 6 healthy buds. 3 stakes are planted per pit in a triangular form with a spacing of 15 centimeter and leaving only one bud exposed above soil surface. So this is a very important, we have to maintain this stakes and planting while planting the mulberry cultivation. So then intercultivation is also very important. So here during the first year intercultivation should be done manually. Then fertilization means the fertilizer which is used to cultivate or to grow more of mulberry. So we have to use different fertilizer, that is known as fertilization. The NPK are very much important. That is and one more important thing we have to follow here, flowering and leaf harvest. The first crop should be harvested 6 months after plantation when the mulberry is well established. And after that, green manuring and mulching is also important to maintain in mulberry cultivation. Green manure crops can be grown as intercrop with mulberry during the monsoon only, and green manure crop, that is cowpea, horse gram, then dharinka should be incorporated into the soil by flowering before the flowering starts and well before the rains cease, means rainy season ceases. Then subsequently plots may be mulched with any dry material or plant that will not cause needs. This is green manuring and mulching. So I hope all you are understood about different races of silkworms and a brief account of mulberry cultivation. Thank you very much.